In this session we're going to look at the library. At the top of the library you'll notice that is the iPhoto library. Now this is giving you a connection to your iPhoto application so that you can look at the various albums in iPhoto, or you can look at the faces, places, any smart albums that you have selected. If you wish to search within iPhoto, you can select a name here and it will take you to photos with that name. In this case it's got the slideshows with that name. The next down is the all events, and what's showing here is all of the events that are currently connected to iMovie. So this essentially is the raw footage that iMovie has access to at the moment. If you double click on one of these, you will bring that event that was showing in the all events forward, so that we're now looking at that one. That's the quick start event, and it's put the event in the events area browse or the browser, and it's put the project associated with that event into the timeline. If we go back to all events here and then click on, let's say, sample edit, you can see now that the sample edit event is selected here and the sample edit event footage is here, but in the timeline you'll see that there is still the quick start project, and that's represented by this icon here, this little clapperboard that's telling you which is the current project in the timeline. If you want to bring that project into the timeline, that's the sample event project, you can double click that project and that will bring the tutorial event into the timeline, as opposed to what was previously there, the quick start. In this area here, since there's only one project, then there's only one showing. If there were more projects, each of those projects would be showing in this area here. Now I believe we have some here. There we go. So in this case we can see that we've got 5 projects associated with this particular event, and all of those projects can be selected from here and brought to vision in the timeline. So at this point I've got the modern project. I could put the comic book project into the timeline by double clicking that, and you'll see the comic book project is in the timeline. Each library has a series of events, must have at least one event in it, and can have a series of events in it. So this particular library, we called it the iMovie library. You can see that it has a project called My Movie in it, and also a project called Bulletin Board in it, and it has this event content. Each library, if we right click on it, will give you some choices of things that you can do. You can create a new event in that library, and here's the new event, and by default it will get the date, which you can simply change. While it's highlighted in blue, you can overtitle it, so we'll just call this one Test. Again, if we right click on the library, we can import media directly, and if we select the import media, what will happen is it will bring up the import window, and it will give us a choice as to what current event we want to bring that media into, or whether in fact we want to create a new event, and if we're creating a new event, which library would we like that event attached to. We'll look at importing in more detail later. We can close the import window by clicking the close button. We can reveal it in the Finder. By revealing it in the Finder, it shows you where iMovie has stored the data. So by selecting Reveal in Finder, we can see that the iMovie library is inside the Movies folder on the main hard disk. Underneath the library, we can see the associated events for each of those libraries. So that event there has footage in it. This one, because we haven't imported anything else, is giving us the option to press the import media button, and that again brings up the import window that we saw a little earlier. And here are further libraries. The libraries can be twizzled so that you can see the content or not see the content. And finally here, this indicator, as I mentioned before, this clapperboard is showing you which is the current project that you have open in the timeline. To give yourself more working space when you're editing, you can hide the library so that it's out of the way, giving you more working space in a larger events area and a bigger timeline or project area.